September 30th, 2007. Dear Diary, something awful strange happened today, and I'm still not sure how to explain it. It may have been a dream, but you know what? Let me tell you about it later. Most important is my precious little baby girl and the chinks which have begun to appear in her previously luminous, unblemished armor. To start, let's go back to last night. I went out with the boys, Craig and Taylor, to sing for my fans at the karaoke bar. What's that, diary? Which of the many fine establishments did we choose? Well, seeing as how I am banned from all but a couple, for crazy reasons involving ridiculous allegations of lewd conduct and such, we chose Cooter's Holler and Swaller over on Grant Avenue. Everything was going along fine for the first hour or so, and then the Armstrong curse kicked in. The curse is simply the fact that the Armstrong brood is just too funny for our own good. Perfect example. Anytime I tell a joke, it is so funny, people can't even laugh. They just stand there as if dumbstruck. It happens every time. I'm sure that later on, after the shock wears off, they are in stitches. It's where the saying comes from, if you ain't laughing, blame an Armstrong. So I blame the curse for what happened last night when I concocted a clever prank. What I did was flip the breakers in the fuse box outside the men's room at Cooter's. It was a truly harmless prank. I went over it in my head several times and it cracked me up each time. If I laugh at something, it is definitely funny. So, anyways, shutting the power off to the bar was an absolute knee slapper. But then, I thought to double up on the hilarity. As the bartender, Carl, groped his way to the breakers in the dark, I made my move. I snuck over and flopped up on the bar, onto my stomach like a walrus, and began sucking feverishly on the Bud Light tap. Brilliant, right? I had only been at it 7 minutes or so when the lights came on. Carl must have woken up on the wrong side of the bed because next thing I knew, he had body slammed me right out the front door and into the street. I chipped my tooth on the nozzle, which wasn't particularly funny. Carl yelled something like, "For the last time, don't come back unless you have money." I was having a hard time pulling myself up from the gutter, so I decided to just chill for a bit. Take a lean back and look at the stars for an hour or two. Boy, they sure are pretty, all blurry and spinning around at 100 miles per hour. The night was warm and the steady stream of water running down the gutter felt good on my clammy skin. The nicest thing, though, was my little prank wasn't lost on the other patrons. Any time one of them would step outside to have a smoke, they would point and laugh, which felt real good. Some even had the courtesy to share by flicking the tail end of their smoke at me, which was awful considerate. All in all, it was a good night. That is, until I got home. I work hard, diary, right? I am out there singing my heart out, paying my dues, getting tossed out of bars, sleeping in gutters, then crawling home 12 blocks on all fours, just to make a future in country music. And why? So my precious princess will have all the things her two well-paid surgeon parents could not afford to buy her. Is it too much to ask that she be there, waiting for me online when I stumble in at 4:55 a.m.? Exactly. Hell no. But that little hooer was not there when I returned home. In fact, from this morning I was in and out of consciousness all day. Each time I came to, I would leave her a message. "Where's my precious princess this morning? I miss my precious baby girl a lot. I love you, precious." 9 times, diary. 9 times I woke up, puked, and left her a message. Finally, at 8:53 p.m. and 39 seconds, she typed with her filthy tramp fingers, "Well, I guess you're too busy. Talk to you later." She had some serious explaining to do, and I was ready to listen. Well, actually, to get ready, I first took all of the crushed butts out of the ashtray and straightened them. They each had one or two good sucks left. I also grabbed the half-eaten pot pie I had left on the floor by Bud's water bowl. That picky little shit doesn't know good food when it's placed in front of his face. All he had done was sniff at it, let out a yelp, and then scurried off to hide in the closet. God, stupid animal. So with my food and filters, I began to get information out of my old lady. She started by telling me how she had stayed the night at Haley's house. Haley. That sounds like a typical slut's name. It was like pulling teeth getting her to admit there were boys there. I bit down on my lower lip, prepared to say the F word, because I could sense what was coming. She told me Derek had been there. Ex-Derek. As soon as that was confirmed, I stepped to the window and let out a FUCK! If you have never heard an entire thriving metropolis go dead silent, diary, except for the lone cry of a distant car alarm, it is eerily beautiful to behold. Anyways, I composed myself and went back to the computer to see if a little punk bitch 7th grader was going to die tonight. My blood pressure must have been through the roof as she went on to describe how that little fucking Don Juan had put his arm around her. The pressure behind my eyes was intense. I could barely read the screen through all the bright flashes and floating black spots. I stood there tottering, straining to read the screen. As I recall, she went on to describe how that slimy snake Derek had sidled up to her and began pawing at what her mama gave her. Eventually, the conversations got away from talking about him, the teenage trigger that starts with D, ex-Derek. I should call him ex-dork. I'm going to have to remember to tell my KK that one. She is going to completely lol when she hears that. I have been watching a lot of true crime stuff lately when I sneak in next door late at night. Over at La Casa de Jose's. When I think about it, the fellows that get caught in the forensic files and such, they have a lot of good ideas about staying out of trouble, Like this one fellow, he had hidden his truck in some nearby woods before violating a young lady. Of course, the rapey part of the story was aberrant, but the sneaky part was pretty solid. I tried asking Kayla if she had any wooded areas near her house, but her goddamn motherfucking parents bugged her so she couldn't answer. Before I knew it, she had to go. I just sat there, stewing over the way her rents rule with an iron fist. That burned me up, and then her ex-dork Derek came back into my mind, and I could feel my face filling with blood. My hands were clenched so tight,
I raised my fist to smash my keyboard,
and everything went black. When I came to, I was a bit disoriented. It seemed like my apartment, but there was an old man grabbing a beer from the false compartment in the fridge. I knew I had 3 in there from a previous heist, but how did he know? Excuse me, who are you? I said. He had curly gray hair, long enough to hang down in his face. He cracked the ill-gotten elixir and leapt to my side. He was pretty nimble for a man who I would guess was in his 80s. "Pleased to meet you, Lorne," he said, then chugged the entire beer in a single gulp. "The name's Lewis, Jerry Lee Lewis." Now, I thought this fellow looked familiar, and I recognized the name. The thing is, I watched a lot of the old Martin and Lewis films when I was a kid. Real knee slappers they were. But this is not how I imagined Jerry Lewis would look in person. Was Jerry Lewis even still alive? "Are you a ghost?" I asked. Sure, why not?" he fired back. "Lorne," he continued, "take my hand. I want to show you a glimpse into your future." And with that, he crushed the empty beer can, tossed it to the side, and extended his right hand. I do say, diary, it was all sort of spooky. It shook my nerves and it rattled my brain. The whole experience was enough to drive a man insane. Well, I took his hand, and the next thing I knew, we were floating above me. Only this was me a bit older, and a bit balder from our position looking down. I asked Jerry, "Is that me? Where are we? What's going on?" He answered, "Oh, that's you all right. Only the date is approximately a year and a half in the future. You are in jail, Lorne. That is what I have come to warn you about. If you don't cover your ass, this is what lies ahead of you." "Right. What is that I'm doing?" I asked. "Well," Jerry hesitated, "it looks like you're lying on the bunk, writing in a diary, but..." I gave Jerry a dismissive wave and then floated down to see what I was writing. Inexplicably, as I retell this now, I remember it all. Here's what I was putting down in the diary. March 9th, 2009. Dear Diary. All the greatest guitar players are known by their last names. Hendrix, Clapton, Halen, and now Armstrong. Yes, diary, you heard me correctly. I, Lorne Armstrong, am now a master of the sixth string. Through the use of books sent to me by Ma, I can now play the guitar like a champ. And it didn't take long even. Okay, diary, I can hear your scoffing loud and clear. To be truthful, it was much easier than you'd guess. Did you know, dear diary, that in the sum total of human history, only 5 chords have ever been discovered? And the Lorniac can play them all. I know, diary. You've heard rumors of chords other than A, C, D, E, and G. But I assure you, the B flats and the F sharp chords, they are as mythical as the Minotaur and women who don't want me. A little slight joke there, if you will. Nevertheless, there are only 5 chords, and if there were more, they are only played by classical and jazz musicians, show-off music, that's what I call it. Not good old-fashioned American music, such as the country and rock music that I so enjoy. In fact, I'm pretty sure that liking classical and jazz music makes you unpatriotic. But I digress. All guitar pyrotechnics are achieved by the action of the right hand, not the ever-steady left hand, which simply holds the chords in place. I like to keep it plain and simple. My right hand technique is simply called up and down, over and over. It gets the job done, and isn't that what it's all about, diary? Of course it is. Now note, everything I have said is reversed if the guitarist is left-handed. Rest in peace, Slim Whitman. Now that I can play guitar like a pro, I'm certain to become a country music star. Your time in the spotlight is up, pretty boy Tim McGraw. Don't give me any lip either, or I will take Faith Hill from you. I have spoken. Anywho, my cellmate and close personal friend, Balloon Not Bubba, not his Christian name, I'm sure, has told me of the existence of something called the YouTubes, like tubes as in the boob tube. Boobs. And you as in you and me. You are so uninformed, diary. Ordinary people like us can put video of themselves on a website where it will be seen by millions of people worldwide. Who even needs the Grand Ole Opry now, diary? I have no doubt people will be clamoring to hear my music on the YouTubes. After all, need I remind you again that I am the biggest thing on NBC? Yeah, that's what I thought, diary. You just remember your place and we'll get along fine. I'm the brains of this outfit, capisce? Well, it's dark now and I'm gonna go get drunk. Can you believe that people out there think that something as minor as prison bars could keep the great Lorne Armstrong from getting lit up like a Christmas tree? Ha! I scoff at their naivete. Granted, Pruno, that is prison wine to civilians like you, diary, is not the nectar of the gods that Bud Light is, but then what in all of existence is. It serves its greater purpose, though, which is keeping me from remembering my past and being unaware of my present. Do you like the way I capitalized my past, diary? I'm thinking of getting it trademarked. My past is pretty epic, after all. And it's something I don't like to be reminded of. Ever. Anyway, Pruno isn't that bad. The kind made from oranges is way better than the type made from sauerkraut, I can tell you that for sure. Until tomorrow, old friend. Signed, the future country music god, Lorne Armstrong. Well, diary, that was about all the time Mr. Lewis had for me, I guess. I had no sooner finished reading the entry from Future Me's diary when I was jerked out of the OBE and found myself sitting up dazedly in my present-day apartment once more. I began to think it had all been a dream. But then I saw Jerry grabbing the 2 remaining beers from the stash spot. He walked over and it looked like he was about to hand me one. "Lorne, buddy, I gotta know. What's up with that hot little piece you've been chatting with? What's her name? Kylie?" Still staring at the beer in his hand and licking my dry lips, I answered, "Kayla. You mean Kayla? Well, she's this 13-year-old I met in an Ohio chat room. She and I..." "Wait a minute. You're talking up this little hottie that you met online? Making plans to get together to make the beast with 2 backs, and you're not related to her? You sick son of a bitch. You disgust me." And with that, he was gone. Vanished before my very eyes. And the fucking piece of shit took both of the remaining beers. Now, unless you are the person I stole those from, nobody steals my beer. I jumped up and plugged the name Jerry Lee Lewis into the Ask Jeeves search engine. Lo and behold, diary, that was no ghost. And it wasn't the same Jerry Lewis from the old black and white talkies. This guy was some sort of a, wannabe honky-tonk spastic rock and roller, allegedly. Washed up from what I could tell. The funniest part is, it seems he used to try and shill his brand of rock and roll with a fucking piano. Okay, Mozart, grape balls of fire, that'll get people rocking out. Not a piano in rock and roll? Don't get me wrong, diary. I plan to master all manner of instrument, as you can tell from the entry in Future Me's diary. Actually, I'm already an accomplished pianist, but I suck on the organ. More important for now, where am I going to get some beer tonight? Even more important than that, before I can do anything else, I have an appointment to audition my hand puppet. I'll talk to you tomorrow, diary. Good night.